What's up everyone? On today's episode we're going to show you how to go from this to this. All using mostly tools that could be found at home or that could be acquired for relatively cheap. So stick around to see how we go ahead and install that product, as well as follow along for some tips and tricks along the way.
So we were looking at a couple of tire carriers. We've been going back and forth, but we finally just went for it. We like this one a lot. It kind of matches the front bumper. If you guys have seen it, check out the walk around video. But overall, it's gonna stick out a little bit, which looks awesome. We're really excited to install it. We watched a couple of videos on the bumper and it looks like it's pretty easy to install, so we'll keep you posted. Just as a heads up, if you guys are liking this tire carrier and you're interested in getting the same modification, it's not that easy and plug and play kind of a deal. We're gonna have to drill straight into the frame in order to mount this onto the car.
Not frame, but the body.
The body, great. We're also gonna have to move the license plate because it is gonna get in the way, so just so you guys know.
And in some states you're required to have a license plate light. We're gonna just figure out how to rewire our license plate light just to keep it illuminated in the dark. Alright everyone, these are all the tools you're gonna need to get the job done. You're gonna need a nice set of screwdrivers, something to take off the lug nuts of the wheels, the car keys. So these are some of the parts that come with the kit. But other than that, you're gonna need a drill and a drill bit set, as well as something to grind off the pin out of one of the hinges. So I have a Dremel here and a bunch of Dremel attachments. Other than that, you're gonna need what comes with the kit, which is shown on the table, as well as that DV8 bumper right over there. Let's get started. So the first thing you're gonna do is remove the spare tire. So let's go ahead and get that done. We have air tools. We want to use hand tools just to show that you don't absolutely need air tools. Now using a T20 screwdriver, we're going to go ahead and take out these 4 bolts on the tire carrier. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and slice this wire if you're not planning on reusing it. But we'd like to keep it if we can, and it's just 4 T20 screws, so we'll go ahead and get that done with. Alright, now that you have the tail light disconnected, you can go ahead and get rid of the third brake light. Now we're just going to go ahead and remove the tire stop. We no longer need these. Looks like we didn't even have one on the right side. This is a good time to give this area a nice clean. Next up, just remove these plastic covers. They're held in with a couple clips. Couple more clips here, and it's all out.
Looks like we can wipe up this area too. It's definitely collected some dust.
Now we're gonna go ahead and take each of these hinges off at separate times. I want to go ahead and start with the one on the top and then do the one on the bottom second. You don't want to do them both at the same time because you're gonna be disarticulating this tailgate and you might have a hard time realigning it later on. So these are two 13mm bolts. We're going to go ahead and take those out right now. Once you have that taken out, there's a total of 3 of these Torx screws. We're going to just use the kit that comes with the Jeep and go ahead and remove those 3 to completely remove it from the vehicle. Hopefully this guy does it. It's a tiny little dude. calling in for backup. This is a T50. There we go.
And once again, we're cleaning. Alrighty guys, so our next part, we are going to have to Dremel this, just the surface off, and then using a hammer this whole piece out in order to replace it with this piece over here.
Alright, so using the Dremel head, I'm anticipating that we're going to go through a bunch of these. But using the Dremel head, we're going to go ahead and try to Dremel the shallow end off. This is the part that's on the bottom of the hinge, towards the floor. Make sure you're wearing your protective glasses. Switched it over to a grinding wheel. Hopefully this gets the job done a little better.
Where's my protective gear? You just took mine.
No, it's my glasses.
Well, mine's on my head. Don't worry, friends. I'm good to go too. While the Dremel's going,
so we've been having a bit of a stalemate over here, but I think we figured it out. Want to tell us what's been going on?
Alright, so when we Dremeled it, it seemed like it welded together, so we were stuck with the task of how we were going to still separate it. So what we ended up doing was just flattening it as much as we could. We got a flathead and a mallet. What we're doing is just putting it at the center of where we think it's supposed to line up from the other end, and then just using the mallet to hit it, and it kind of made the crease, so we know we're doing something right.
Guys, let me tell you, that was not easy. That was not as easy as we thought. We got rid of the flat part on the bottom, but then because of the heat, it kind of welded it to the rest of it. So it took a lot of elbow grease getting this pin out. But now that we have the pin out, we can continue. Let's move along. Okay, so this is the hinge that goes onto the body. We're just filing the insides down a little so the stock hinge bracket fits within it, which is this guy over here. So I'm just filing the sides down a little bit. After some filing down, we were able to pass the hinge, the bolt through the hinge through the carrier hole. Putting an Allen wrench in one side of the screw, you go ahead and tighten the other side. This is a 13 mil. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and put in these 3 T50 Torx screws back into the body. Before you tighten everything up fully, go ahead and put the 2 body mount screws partially threaded by hand in, and then we can go ahead and tighten up the back. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and repeat that entire lengthy process for the bottom hinge. Just to give you an idea, I know this video is probably going to be like 10-15 minutes. That first hinge took us about an hour and a half. And it was because we had a really hard time punching that pin through, and the fact that it was like welding to itself as we were trying to grind it down. So we're gonna try to make this side a little faster. We'll check back in with you in a bit. I pawned off the tapping part to Ollie. While she does that, I'm gonna go ahead and try to screw in the part that holds the tire as well as the license plate bracket. So you just line these two up and it looks like there's a total of 6 of these screws. Now in the instructions it says they're 12 millimeter, but they're actually 10 millimeter. And also because of the powder coating, they're not going in too smoothly. So we'll see what happens. So a little easier this time around. About to knock it right out. This is all Ollie. So now the fun part. Let's see what it looks like.
Well, I guess we needed a little bit of filing.
Alrighty, take 2. We just filed a little bit. Let's see if it'll slide in any easier now. Also put a little bit of WD-40 on there. All I have to say is this ain't no plug and play.
Alrighty guys, so just to go over the bolts that are gonna come with it.
We lost the tail light in the process.
That we did. Ready to go. Just as a reference, they are 6 of the same bolts. Next step is just to remove your license plate because that tire carrier will hit it.
Kit says it comes with a plate to block the license plate screw hole. Doesn't look like ours came with it, so we'll see. Looks like a couple of these little juniors.
Yeah.
All right, next up, let's take out this tail light and set it aside. Time to put the tire up.
Left. There you go.
Grab this. Now I want to add a quick note. I went ahead and filed all 4 of the inside parts. I think that's totally unacceptable. If powder coating makes it so thick that it doesn't work right out of the box, then you should change the dimensions of the product so that after powder coating it fits. Even in the instructions it tells you to file it down, but I mean, now that it's exposed metal, it's probably gonna rust, and I'm just not a fan of this. It shouldn't need filing. Alrighty, for this next portion, what we did is we attached the bracket with the quick release pins to the tire carrier assembly. Now this is the scary part. We're gonna go ahead and put it flush to the body and mark up the 5 holes so that we could drill it out. So let's do that now. I went ahead and I marked my 5 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now using a punch, I'm gonna go ahead and punch them all out. Alright, now that all the holes are punched out, it's time to go ahead and drill through. I'm gonna go ahead and start with a 1/8 inch bit. Alright, now we're gonna use a 5/16 bit and put. So I'm encountering a whole other issue at this point. I'm trying to mount the bracket on this side, which is this guy, which I filed down earlier. But now that I put in all the holes exactly as the directions advised me, it didn't take into account for all the crud in the back that doesn't allow these screws to get threaded on. So the way it sits now, only 4 of the 5 screws are able to get threaded on. And to me, that's pretty unacceptable. Basically, this bottom screw over here is flush with the bottom of the tub, so there's no way to put the nut on the other side. And then if I measured them out, if I were to move them all up just enough, just a little bit, then the top one is having the same problem with the top of the tub over here. And so I'm starting to wonder if I should have just got a tire carrier bumper and not this DV8 bumper. I totally feel defeated today. Look at this. The bottom one slides right in and it's connected to the top, but the top one is off by like a 1/16 of an inch. You see that? So I'm having to really file down the top, and I'm not happy about that. I feel like it's messing with the integrity. This thing's supposed to be stronger than stock, you know? And plus, I wasn't able to get the bottom bolt in either. Probably gonna have to weld that at a later time. This kit's just not, it's just not there for me. I don't recommend this. Getting these to line up is such a nightmare. I can't believe this is how they come. Basically, when one lines up, the other one is not lined up any longer. I really don't want to have to modify this any more than I already have. I already put a screw over here that I shouldn't have put because I was trying to adjust it. Broke this tail light. I mean, overall, I think this kit quality is pretty poor. It's like, not only is it like not plug and play, which is fine. I wasn't expecting it to be plug and play. It's just like really poorly made. There needs to be better instructions, and the bracket needs to fit better. It just, something's not right with this. Like either the construction of this, the actual tire carrier doesn't line up with the brackets that come with it. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. We are getting close to the end here. Last thing is to put in the rubber stops. So what I did was I tapped some holes. Looks like they might not be the most center, but at this point I'm pretty much giving up on this project. Extremely exhausted from having to manipulate it. I constantly ground this down. I intentionally didn't record. I was just getting frustrated, so I just wanted to finish and be done with it. But basically I ground it down as much as possible. I ground down some of this rubber grommet as much as possible, and currently the only way to get it in is to actually slam it closed and hope that it lines up. And if it doesn't line up, then you gotta yank as hard as you can and slam it back in. hoping that it lines up. And if it does, at that point, you can go ahead and drop one of those pins in, but both of the pins don't go in. You just got to pick one or the other, and I think that should be fine for our application. So we've been riding like this for quite some time now. We contacted DV8, and they basically sent us a new bracket, and they said that the one that they had initially sent us, perhaps there was a welding defect. Sorry about that. Got my little bird over there. He wants to be by me, so he's gonna keep yelling. So gonna swap this out today. Hopefully it's gonna be an easy one. Gonna remove the 4 screws. Remember, the 5th one didn't actually go in because there was no way to thread it on from the rear. We're gonna go ahead and put these 4 in, swap it out. Hopefully everything closes, and right on. Arlene's gonna get some work done today as I work on the Jeeps. All right, let's begin. Let's remove. Next step, I'm gonna remove the. Now I'm gonna remove those 4 screws and hope that. As you can see with the old bracket, exactly what I was expecting, what I was predicting happened. It's already rusting out. Not a fan of that at all. Alright, new bracket is a little bit better, but it still has its own quirks. So anytime we fully tighten this bolt down, it levels out the back, and this bracket no longer fits in those 2 holes. If I leave it loose, fits right in, no problems. Even so, then I can only get one of the 2 pins in easily. The second pin doesn't want to go in unless I use a lot of brute force. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to fully tighten that bolt. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite. The person I spoke to over the phone said that you only actually need 2 screws in this because there's actually no weight on this at all. It's basically preventing the hinge, the tailgate, from swinging open. So technically you can get away with just 1 pin and just two screws somewhere in it. Fortunately, I'm gonna have 4 screws. So I'm gonna put a little bit of non-permanent Loctite on the bottom thread and not tighten it all down all the way. Figured out another solution. Gonna be using about 2 washers or so between the body of the vehicle and that plate, just so it stays propped out so it can close easily. Let's do that now. For the last 2 hours or so, I have been fighting putting washers behind the various screws, so I just trying to get everything lined up. So it goes in now, but the bolts don't drop through, and total disaster again. Alright, so this is what it ended up taking. A ton of washers on the top, several washers on the bottom, and loads and loads and loads of frustration, elbow grease. This took way longer than anticipated. But at least now, these are pretty loose. They both go in. The actual carrier itself doesn't go in pretty well. Like, you have to slam it in. But other than that, it works. Also couldn't put the bump stop up here. Whatever. We're over it. I mean, it looks cool. I think the bumper looks really cool. But I do not recommend this at all. I think that there needs to be more development. There needs to be better quality control. This bracket needs to be redesigned so that it doesn't have 5 screws in a format where they need to all be able to fit. I mean, I get it. You have something variable over here trying to line up with something fixed at 2 separate points. It might be better to just have 1 point over here instead of 2. If this doesn't really do much having 2. I mean, it should have just 1 pin on that left side. But anyways, it is done for now. Hopefully it doesn't wiggle and change on us. Hopefully it doesn't cause any more headache. I'm all done with this project. I look forward to the comments and all the good stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below on what you want to be seen or installed on our Jeeps. As Arlene said earlier, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So here's how you can get a pair of free 7-inch LED headlights for your Jeep or any other vehicle that accepts these style headlights. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and once we get to 500 subscribers, we're going to be picking one person at random, and we're going to send them a new set of 7-inch LED Jeep headlights. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you on our next video.